Is Yu-Gi-Oh getting rid of negates? That was 9 months ago. All right, let's find out about what's it called. Tag me when the video is over. One Piece Toho spotted. Free the Roach.
A script for a new video about how to pick a modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I was writing a script for a new video about how to pick a modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck to play with, and it was, well, rough. Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is in a Tier 0 format, meaning that there's only one deck or strategy that's viable. Of course, I still could have made a deck choice guide work, being more of an explanation of the top engine and its variants, and then the few rogue decks that counter it or have a slim chance. But my anger at the newest meta deck and how awful it is for new players helped me finally put into words the change in Yu-Gi-Oh! That has been manifesting for a while now. It's a bit roundabout, but let me explain by talking about the evolution of card effects. In the earliest eras of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I'll call Classic Yu-Gi-Oh!, cards tended to be designed around performing one specific generic action. A card can do anything, but it tended to be focused around doing one thing. Power-wise, these cards would be all over the place, but they'd be simple. It would feel like almost every card from this era could be used in the early series of the anime. In the middle era of Yu-Gi-Oh!, 3 things would change. First, there would be a gradual creep in the cards having multiple effects. Obviously, this would be a thing in earlier formats of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but now they'd start to feel commonplace and baked into the design of new cards. The second change is the pushing of archetypes. You'd see these pioneered with earlier strategies like Elemental Heroes and Gladiator Beast, but it would really start to define the game after 2008-2009. Lastly, the type of effects themselves would begin to change. We'd get archetypal searches, new methods to special summon from the deck, and even the introduction of XYZ and Synchros to summon from the extra deck. This is where the name Middle Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes from, because it's where Yu-Gi-Oh! Starts to shift into its modern design identity. Of course, that brings us to the question of what makes modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Different. Easy. A slightly higher level of searchability and the standardization of recursion. You would see decks go crazy, with additional effects based around future plays and Plan B options on top of their already strong effects. While it first got hard previewed in Dragon Ruler format, this definitely became the norm after 2014. Almost every meta deck from this period could have used recursion. Shaddoll's, Perform Mage, Monarch, Zodiac, Gokis, and not to mention the whole pendulum mechanic got introduced here. So you'd have these decks with the previously established archetypes and deck utilization, but now with recursion options built in to outgrind your opponents. It's the invention of modern Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
I call the next era postmodern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it makes a friend of mine who doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Laugh every time I show him the graphic. But I also call it postmodern because there's a trend of refining archetypes in the tighter and tighter engines and the standardization of hand traps. It's such a dramatic change in deck building, it almost feels like a deconstruction of the previous modern format. Like the eras before, we'd get a preview of this with Zodiacs. It's one of the neat trends of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you'd end up with previews of later eras quite a bit earlier than when they would become the norm. The shift from modern into postmodern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is where most classic players tend to get lost. It's no wonder why, really. Complexity went through the roof. Decks have become so refined and fast that you not only need to navigate large portions of your deck each turn, but you're also going to be playing on turn 0. Decks have to make room for 9 to 12 different hand traps, and usually staple cards as well, or they'll struggle to enter the meta. Decks will often make heavier use of faster extenders to play around hand traps. Postmodern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still a great game, but it's definitely not for everyone. So, what's the shift with the newest format? I have a list of changes I've noticed. 3 good effects is the norm, there are practically no restrictions, decks are fully designed to play around all hand traps, and...
Dude, is that crazy, Chad? That at some point we just realized, like, having one effect is just not good enough? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think, like, a card like Darklaw, which isn't even that great. It's a, macrocosmos, but it also has a hand... Actually, no. A better example is a Rise Heart. Yeah, a Rise Heart is actually, like, the perfect example, chat. Like, a Rise Heart can attach materials, which I guess I just didn't realize how OP that is and why only, like, 5 exceeds ever attach materials, chat. Like, that shit's broken. But, like, a Rise Heart attaches materials. He detaches to banish a card. That's like his Ixie effect, but then he's also a macrocosmos. So like he has 3 different effects. You know what I mean? The Super Saiyan era. That's just interesting to me.
And in archetypal hand traps are becoming a thing. The first item has the most potential for expanding the gameplay, but it's the
I don't know about that, by the way. In archetypal hand traps. Because if the example is going to be Kieran, I need to see way more than that, chat. Like, how many archetypes do have, like, good in archetypal hand traps? Like, I don't know about that. Rescue Ace. Haveness. That's 2. Or that's 3. Like, that's, I don't know if that's, where's Pearly's hand trap, chat? Where's Sky Striker's hand trap? Where's, like, Mathmech? Where's, like, all these other archetypes? They have been dialing back hand traps, and it's a mistake to do so. Yeah, I feel like that's not a thing.
most frustrating to deal with at the moment. You see, new decks tend to have cards with 3 powerful effects, specifically a conditional special summon, some type of recursion or protection effect, and then an additional effect to progress the game state. Take Snake Eyes Popular. It summons itself when it's searched, it puts a fire monster to the field as an equip spell when it's sent to grave, and finally, it is a search when summoned. And another example, Lo the Prayer of the Voiceless Voice is a search, can be an entire tribute of a ritual monster, and is a free special summon that chain blocks.
Holy shit, I didn't even think about this. Chat, this guy's right. Like, good Yu-Gi-Oh cards have 3 effects now. Oh my god, I didn't even think about this. Like, to be considered like a good card, you can't just be like, I don't know, I summon a card or when I'm summoning. Like, that's not good enough. You need to do like 3 fucking things. You know what I mean? Mseti, you discard, add a gold sarcophagus, and draw a card. You know, and then when you're on the field and your opponent gets rid of one of your cards, you send one of their shits to the graveyard, non-targeting. You know what I mean? And I summon from the graveyard. Like, wow. I really did not think about that, chat. Like, good Yu-Gi-Oh cards need to have 3 effects now.
Shirt Strategist of the Necros is in shambles right now. In previous formats, we saw Kashtira.
That card was banned, by the way. That card was banned, by the way.
Do the same thing. Take, for example, Fenrir, who is a free special summon, a free search, and a free disruption.
And a banish.
The exceptions to this rule come from Telements, who put this effect on their practically free to summon extra deck monster, Telemented Talos. Not to mention, this is supplemented with their in-archetype hand traps. More on this in a bit. It's also worth mentioning that there's also some decks like Sprite, Purely, and Fire Kings, without this style effect, who get their increased power level from other places, respectively having insane extra deck plays, limited once per turn restrictions, and some of the most insane searchability and recursion.
Okay, this is actually cute. He's eating spaghetti. Dude, now I kind of want the Pearly cat. Yeah, now I kind of want the cat.
To me, these decks feel like a halfway point between postmodern Yu-Gi-Oh! And what's currently going on. I feel that it's fair to say that the best decks from recent formats have used having more effects than the previous era. It helps them play around disruptions and hand traps, which have gotten crazier and somehow even more common than in the past era. Every starter and extender is designed to be able to start some significant combo line, be live after disruption, and still have an interaction for an opponent. I'd theorize that that's why this new style of effect trio is so common and isn't going anywhere. It's to facilitate interaction, and also drive new set sales. Following this up, I want to remind you that none of the cards mentioned before have any restrictions for using their effects. You aren't locked into anything after, nor do you have major restrictions for how to set up the requirements. Compared to an older archetype like Tribrigade, which would lock you into Beast, Wing Beast, and Beast Warriors, the Abelstar, Kashtira, and Voiceless Voice can do anything afterwards. It's why you can put Kashtira monsters generically into any deck as a go second tool, put Horse into any deck that cares about a graveyard, or use Snake Eyes to retroactively buff any archetype with a level 1 fire monster. Seriously though, because the original Sinful Spoils isn't even archetype locked, it's one of the best staple extenders ever printed. In a previous format, original Sinful Spoils could have been a generic extender on its own. Now it's part of a combo that also draws a card and can set up board without any cost. Another example has the Purely cards, lacking a once per turn clause. Also, we can't forget that Telements are generic. Even other decks that do have restrictions have light and minor ones. Rights restrict to level 2, Mikus restrict to plants, and Unchained restrict to fiends. These are
I mean, I wouldn't call Rika's plant locking a minor restriction, chat. Would you guys, like, if Rika didn't plant lock you, chat, this would be like the best deck ever printed. Like, come on now. Rika's plant locking is not minor. Like if Rika could just end on like Appaloosa and shit, that'd be pretty stupid. So
barely restrict.
You can still get out. I mean, yeah, but still. Like again, if what if Rika just didn't plant lock at all, chat? Like they would end on like IP every turn and all this other shit. So, you know what I mean? I think what's it called? I think it's a significant lock.
Restrictions for the deck, and they can still be sequenced around some and other stuff anyway.
It was just
to put it in another.
I used Oppo as an example because they don't have tuners in Rika. They got tuners in Aroma, but not in Rika, so they can't make synchros or whatever.
Way, restrictions have gotten so lax, Kashtira Fenrir can search himself. It's been Yu-Gi-Oh! Tradition for years to have cards be unable to search themselves.
That's true.
And we've gotten to the point where we...
Real talk, chat. Why is that? I never thought... Chat, why specifically can Fenrir search himself? Because, like, that really hasn't been a thing since GX era, chat. Like, that was most known with Stratos, right? Like, when that very, 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 very short period of time where Stratos was at 3... Stratos they had the thing called like Airblade Turbo or like Airblade Control, that's Stratos. But like cards have not been able to search themselves. I actually can't think of a modern card. I'm talking like in the last 10 years that can search another copy of itself, like Fairy Tail Luna, I think. You know, they don't care. Why has but that's the thing. It's not really loosened up. It's just with this specific card though. Like, this is still not standard, chat. You don't have, Snake Eye Ash can't search another Snake Eye Ash, right? Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's really just specifically Fenrir, you know? Can Galaxy... I think Galaxy Soldier can as well. But that dude requires a discard, I think. Magic Spectre Raccoon searches itself? Okay, maybe it is more cards than I thought.
We no longer care, or honestly could even stop it. Just loop through a combo and search it anyway. I've mentioned the restriction removal in a previous video, but being more than a year into the future, we can confirm that it's just the standard now. Next up in the discussion is how modern decks have fully embraced design around hand traps. This means having both intentionally designed plays around hand traps, and sometimes having built-in hand traps themselves. Commonly and classically, we've seen decks get designed to be able to play around one or two of the most generic hand traps, like Ash Blossom, Infinite Impermanence, and Ghost Ogre. Modern decks not only have this in mind, but also come with obviously designed methods to play around more complex hand traps.
I don't know if that's true, chat. Like, is that true? Is Konami making decks like... Because I feel like everyone will say, oh, Cap, if Lowe sets from the deck, that means they wanted to play around Ash. It's like, or they just wanted to like use the set from deck mechanic that they never fucking use. They used it on like 2 cards ever, like Altergeist, Marionetter, and like Lowe. You know what I mean? Like maybe they just wanted to be like, hey, you remember how we have this Altergeist card that doesn't add a trap from the deck, but it just puts it on the field? Like, what if we just make another card that does that? You know what I mean? It doesn't specifically have to be because of Ash Blossom though. You know what I mean? It could just be like, yeah, because we never use this. So that's all I'm saying. This is the only monster that would even benefit from that restriction. So many cards can't search themselves, even though doing so would be pointless. Theresia. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Dino Wrestler Theresia. Dino Morphia Theresia. My point is, chat, is like, I'm not sure that Konami makes these cards specifically or gives it that effect specifically to like dodge Ash, as much as like we never use this. I think there's what's that other archetype, chat? The trap, Amazement. I think there's an Amazement card that does it as well. Yeah, I think there's an Amazement card, chat, that like does it as well. Konami said it themselves. I linked the memo. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Like Nibiru, Draw and Lockbird, and even Max C. For the Draw and Lockbird example, it's very common for new spell archetypal searchers to be quick plays.
Snake Eyes literally summon themselves from the back row just so that they don't summon from the deck or grave.
That way they can be activated in the draw phase or in response to a draw activation. At first glance, it's a small power creep, but it speeds up the game.
I am not buying that! Oh my god! What?
That way they...
Chat, are you guys buying this? Are you guys buying this? That these cards are made quick play specifically to beat Droll? I'm not buying that, bro. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. Hold on.
Like Nibiru, Droll,
Yes.
Lockbird,
Oh my god. Shut up. You guys are buying that. I'm not buying that shit.
and even Max C. For the Droll and Lockbird example, it's very common for new spell archetypal searchers to be quick plays. That way they can be activated in the draw phase or in response to a draw activation. At first glance, it's a small power creep, but it speeds up the game.
I'm just not buying that. Like half of these aren't even quote unquote searchers. They like branded opening's not a searcher. It just summons from. I mean, the card that it gets is probably gonna search, but like it's not a searcher. You know what I mean? Neither is Emblema Oath. I mean, I don't know if I'm buying that. Cat G I'm delusional. Add it to your hand. Oh, nobody does that. Nobody does. No one adds. I literally have never seen someone be like branded opening. I'll add Alibert. No one ever does. They just summon. I've never seen anyone add to their hand.
Game substantial.
No. I didn't say about Advent. Advent does, but branded opening. It's like branded opening, emergency, Emblema Oath. Like nobody searches with these cards. You know, people just like they summon it from the deck, or this one puts a card in the back row. Like
At first,
if it wasn't the case, then they wouldn't frequently be doing it over and over. Now you're just moving the goalposts. What? Don't people... Chat, how many times have you guys seen someone activate branded opening and search a monster? I actually don't think I've ever seen that. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that done once in my life. I've never seen someone activate branded opening just to search. What people do is they activate branded opening and summon a monster. I've never seen someone search a monster with this card. It's just a coincidence, guys. Shaking my... Just answer the question. How often do people do that? I've never seen anyone do it. I've seen it in a Master Duel. Oh, I've never seen someone be like, search Alibert from... Like, they just summon it.
First glance, it's a small power creep, but it speeds up the game substantially.
No, they summon Alibert. Oh yeah, that's my point. Yeah, like no one ever searches. They just summon.
More decks also have unique follow-up plays against Nibiru.
Master Duel.
Usually these would just happen on their own, by being able to summon and negate prior to the 5th summon. But these new decks have more built-in methods, such as Divine Temple of the Snake Eyes. It's so common for modern decks to just ignore Nibiru that it was insanely notable that Kashtira couldn't play around it. It felt intentional from Konami. Lastly, Max C has definitely been affecting card design by giving decks optional low special summon plays or access to floodgates. Even if it's banned in the TCG, it's still legal in the OCG, which is where most of Yu-Gi-Oh's card design is done. The power creep of decks being able to play around hand traps runs along...
You guys think that's true, chat? That Max C's existence affects card design? Because as a TCG player, I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on it because we haven't had Max C in like 5 years. So like I don't know. That's one like I can't really answer because like we don't have the card. Yes. Could that thinking possibly? Yeah, I feel like I'm on the possible side. I don't know if I could say definitively yes or no. He is right. There have been more optional special summons, chat, like cards that have like optional special, like if X happens, you can do this. Branded is like full of them, right? Like if this very specific action happens, then Quim can summon this monster. If your opponent does this exact thing, then Granganir can summon a monster. So like that could be possible.
Alongside more decks getting their own unique hand traps. Previously, we've had Teeleman Ishizu, which had Teeleman's Havness, Kelback the Ancient Vanguard, and the ability to start combos from Herald of the Orange Light. This deck effectively played on either player's turn. Alongside this was the release of Bystials, an archetype that is literally
What? Bystials? That's a little sussy, son.
Turn. Alongside this was the release of Bystials, an archetype that is literally composed of hand traps. Following this would be strategies like Labyrinth, with a constant stream of faster monster cards to play from hand, such as the Furniture and Arias the Labyrinth Butler. We've also had Rescue Ace with Rescue Ace Impulse, and most recently, Fire Kings with Fire King High Avatar Kirin. While not every deck gets a hand trap, it's very common for decks to get this type of support as an optional part of their strategy. To put all this power creep into context, we have power creep decks like Sword Soul and Adventure, to an extent that is comparable to how Sky Strikers power crept Dino Rabbit. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has changed, and honestly, I feel like it's mechanically changed for the better. There's more room than ever for counterplay and interaction from the top decks. Almost every deck has crazy options for grind games, and going second is finally starting to get...
That's so cute how you put him in. That's so cute, Chad, how you put him in the zones. I don't know how I would do Exodia if I, what's it called? I would probably take the cards, put them face down, and then hand them to my opponent. I feel like that'd be so cool and disrespectful, Chad, to just put the cards face down and just like slide them to my opponent. I'd say flip them. That'd be cool.
Get a bit better. Skilled players who are okay with the ridiculous speed of Yu-Gi-Oh! Are having the time of their lives with the game right now. And what I've been able to play so far has been amazing. However, Konami has taken this dramatic shift in power creep as an opportunity to further scam and milk the player base dry. With the dramatic shift in power creep, new cards are of course required to stay competitive. And with how insane the change has been in Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's more of a baseline necessity now than it's ever been. This is nothing new, and is expected and even okay in a lot of scenarios. However, how these cards are distributed, priced, and then banned is a massive problem. Konami operates on one of the worst models. Compared to every other card game, Konami products give you the least value.
True.
Not only that, powerful cards are shifted up in rarity from their original Japanese release. This means a $1 rare in the OCG is often a $70 secret rare in the...
Big Keems. Big Keems. This is just... You know, like, what can you say? What can you say, Chad?
TCG. It's such a problem that the absurdly expensive deck of Fire King Snake Eyes goes for about $1,100 in the TCG, yet only $200 in the OCG. That $200 is considered oddly expensive in the OCG. What I'm getting at is Konami is combining the power creep with exploitative product releases to force players into buying the newest cards at ridiculous markups and terrible prices. Konami has done this before, but it's definitely worse now. Here's the greatest hits from the past couple of years. Main set boxes are structured to only give you 2 secret rares and 4 ultra rares for your $80 to $90. This means it's going to be a base price of $40 to $45 per secret rare. With the bloated secret rare pools, you have a terrible chance to pull any cards you want, and it sends the price of a few staple cards to the moon. Meta-relevant structure decks now almost always have cards cut that they need for main sets, and in the past have had cards cut from the OCG release of these products. Deck build packs are overpriced garbage that don't give you enough ultra rares to do anything with, don't hold any value for customers, and don't even release with near complete archetypes. These have the same problems as base sets, but...
That's true. Let me think. Because if you look at Amazing Defenders, chat, only one of those archetypes was playable out of the box, right? Purely. The other two, Makanko and Rescue Ace, were like not playable. You had to wait until they got like other pieces, chat. And then what was in Wild Survivors, chat? Wild Survivors was Vanquish Soul, Food Deck, so Nivelles, and I actually cannot. Dinosaurs? Was it dinosaurs? Dinosaurs like don't even count because it's not a new archetype. It's just an extension on a type in Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what I mean? So like Vanquish Soul was playable out of the gate, but like the Nivelles was not. You know what I mean? Memento, Centurion, and Angel and Devil Girl. That was for what's the name of this fucking set, chat? The Centurion set. Valiant Smashers, I think. VASM. I'm gonna say Valiant Smashers. No, Wild Survivors was the Vanquish Soul set. I think it was Valiant Smashers. Wait, is that right? Is it Valiant Smashers? Anyways, but like Centurion was the only playable one out of the box, and I don't know. It used to be so good about that, but I agree with him on that.
Much more extreme. In side sets such as the Megatins, key cards are short printed or left at an artificially scarce rarity that isn't advertised in order to drive up card prices. And lastly, TCG Yu-Gi-Oh cards have the worst card quality out of any card game.
Let's go! Hold up. I don't know where he researched this, but okay, hold on. I wanna see this. Millimeter, inches. What is GSM? Taken from outside source. Oh, is this like how thick the card is? Yeah, I'm thinking like that's how thick it is. Oh, okay. So hold on. I get what this is saying, chat. Yeah. Because I'm like, isn't the actual physical card the same size? But he's talking about like the actual like thickness, the width of like how much hollow you get on it. Because I'm like, why would a OCG and a TCG card not be the same size? They should be identical. But no, he's right, Chad. If you're looking at TCG Ultra and Supers versus OCG, like ours is slightly less thick, I guess. And then Ultimates, One Piece, Magic the Gathering, even what's it called? Interesting.
Measured by bendability, damage resistance, card cores, and card thickness. Not to mention the frequent misprints. All of this to milk the consumer dry while optimizing offering the least. I love the card game itself, but Konami's evil practices make it really hard to recommend and enjoy sometimes. It's why when I was writing a deck choice guide, it really hurt me to have to recommend some of those decks. There were no other real options that weren't affected by Konami's awful actions. And I don't want to be the guy to lie to you, or I have to tell you that you're not going to be successful in the community unless you fork over the money. Honestly, sometimes it feels like you're not even welcome in the community unless you have money. Let's be real. Succeeding at events in some of these formats without the correct expensive tools is either practically impossible or requires 20 times the level of skill or luck to succeed. I feel like there's already too much of this in real life. This is supposed to be a game about making friends and building connections. Kazuki Takahashi, Yu-Gi-Oh's creator, didn't even want cash prizes at events because he didn't like what it did to the spirit of the game. We're so far from that now, it just leaves me feeling sad. Why isn't there a single TCG company, outside of Pokemon, that can do a consistently good job at managing their game's accessibility? Oh well. I hope y'all didn't mind this more.
According to Jeff Jones, it's because of the anime and the anime generating revenue. I don't know, chat. I was about to make a video talking about prize support and the serious lack of European events and how that is becoming a detriment to Yu-Gi-Oh. But I don't know, man. Like, why can't we get, what's it called? We Are Kindred Spirits, Bottle. Wait, are you talking about this guy?
More negative video. I usually try to be neutral or positive, but it just wasn't happening with today's topic. If you feel like I was able to put what Konami be doing with okay, I wrote this in the script.
I was gonna say, if you wrote this in the script, why is it?
Feel like I was able to put what Konami's be doing with power creep in the words? Go ahead and subscribe. You just Konami's be doing with power creep. It would help the channel out if you subscribe. Lord knows I only need about 300,000 more views before I can afford a Snake Eyes deck. If y'all still want a deck choice guide for this format, let me know in the comments and I'll release one anyway. I'll just add a big disclaimer about what to expect, and I'll try not to be poor and salty with my delivery. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
What'd you guys think? I thought it was a good video. This guy's editing is on point, Chad. I need to learn how to edit like that. For real. Yeah, I liked it. That was a good video. What you guys think? 10 out of 10, 2 out of 10. What was wrong with the video, Dolan? What didn't you like about the video? The point of the video was not stop being poor. That's like the absolute tail end of the video when he's talking about prices and stuff like that. The point of the video is about power creep. And like I think he makes one of the main points very clear from the beginning, chat. Like, old Yu-Gi-Oh cards used to just have like one good effect. Regeki, destroy all your opponent's monsters. Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. But like modern cards, like, no, we need more than that. You know what I mean? Like, we need more. That wasn't it wasn't insulting to poor people. So you're thinking it should have been more insulting to poor people. Okay, fair enough. I was busy with a raid until like 7 minutes ago. Skill drain. I mean, don't get any card that has an effect, chat, that prohibits an opponent from doing something that is very imperative, that card can just have one effect. If there's a card that says your opponent cannot special summon monsters, like that card's gonna be, pretty like OP. So